Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and today we're talking about new bikes that are rumoured to hit showrooms in 2025. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. So let's get straight on in there with number one. So right off the bat, I'm going to talk about a manufacturer that is not one of the big mainstream ones, but a brand that I really do like. And I think with the right kind of backing and marketing, which it should be getting right now, should be one of the massive players in the market. And that, of course, is CF Moto. Now, CF Moto have been partnered with KTM for a number of years, even more so in the past year, since they are only distributed in the UK through KTM. So, what bike am I talking about? Well, as you know, I have ridden and reviewed all of the CF Moto bikes available, with the exception of the 800 NK. Never got around to doing that one. I was invited to do it, but never had the chance to go and actually do it because I just didn't have time. But the bike I'm talking about is a new development, which I think would be amazing. And that is, I don't know if it's called this, but it's rumoured to be the CF Moto SR 1000 or the 1000 SR. Whether it be the SR or not, I don't know. But what makes this interesting is that it's going to be apparently a V4 1000cc. Now, this is rumoured to be in development now and supposed to be using a KTM-derived power plant, although there is little known about this bike. However, looking at this, it does look epic. Yes, I know it's another sports bike and there's lots of them around, but it's a big player. And it should be, I think. I love CF Moto. I've got no problems with them. I love the way they ride. I love the way they deliver their power. Gorgeous bikes. That 450 SR was superb. The 800 MT, fantastic. I love the 700 range. That adventure bike scrambler, I really do like. Pricing is good. It's up there with the big boys, so you should expect it to be good. The problem is it doesn't have the brand image that the big ones have, you know, the big four, as they say. Although when it comes to this kind of market, there's a lot of these Chinese brands coming through. CF Moto has been a huge player in Asia for a long time. And I really think people should give them a try because I love the way they do their bikes. They are superb. So this is possibly going to have the V4 KTM MotoGP bike engine, which develops 204 horsepower. Yes, 204 horsepower. Now, this could certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons in the biking world, and I, for one, being a fan of CF Moto, would love to see what they have to offer. So if this bike is going to be made, I really do think it would be a massive contender for the likes of the Honda Fireblade or even Kawasaki's H2. Now, CF Moto, the problem I think they've suffered is that they've had poor advertising. I don't think they've had the right brand. Obviously, they used to be through a smaller Chinese manufacturer, Quadzilla, and I don't think they had the marketing that they should have had. Now with KTM, again, I don't know if they've still got that brand marketing out there because there's not many CF Moto dealers around, and certainly not in my area. I was the dealer back then for CF Moto, and then when I closed, no one else has really taken it in this area. I don't know how big it's going to be, and I don't know how big KTM are going to push it. They need to, because I think this is a bike that needs to be ridden and needs to be known. Right then, on to number two. Now, in the past couple of years, Honda have ditched their VFR 800 motor and their VFR brand is disappearing. But there's a possible rumour that it could be returning. Now, Honda has leaked that they are developing a 1000cc V4 engine. Do you see a pattern forming here? Seems to be some 1000cc V4s popping up all over the place here. However, Honda have not stated which bike it would be in as yet. As the VFR ceased production, it would make sense that a V4 muscle tourer would be in their lineup. So perhaps the old favourite, the VFR 800, or even the VFR 1200, is going to be mushed together into the new VFR 1000 V4. Now, unfortunately, there aren't really any proper pictures yet, so we'll have to see whether this comes. But I really do think it should be made. Love the VFR, love the sound of it, love the sound of a V4. It's missing in their lineup. Yes, okay, you've got the Fireblade, you've got the big, tasty superbike, but you haven't really got a massive sports tourer, have you? So why they ditched VFR, I don't know. I'd love to see this come back. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. So then, on to number 3. Now for this one, we're going to stick with Honda and their 1000cc engine, but not in the same way. As Honda apparently are looking at a new CB. That's the CB1000F. Now this is not to be confused by the CBF 1000 or the CBR 1000F. But they are talking about a new CB1000F. I like to call them a naked street bike, but I think they go with the term sports cafe, which is sort of a weird name really, because it's not really a cafe, is it? Depends on how they do the tail end, I guess, but time will tell. Now there are a sort of leaky type pictures dotting around, and we know of course that they've all been talking about the new Honda Hornet 1000, so the CB1000 Hornet, which again is just a modern looking bike, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the retro style. Retro is big, we all love a good retro bike, and I love the likes of the XJR, the CB1000, so a new CB1000F would be epic. Now, of course, it is uncertain as to what it will definitely look like, but a retro alternative to the 1000 Hornet I think would be superb, and I would love to get my hands on one of those. I do like a big, beefy bike. Now, I've got the Hornet 900 in my lineup. I love that style of bike. Again, I'm not going to call it sports cafe, naked street bike. Looks superb. Not really into the modern look with the sort of angled tank sports type bike look. Don't really go for that myself. A lot of people do, but I do love a retro feel to a bike, so this would be epic. I'm starting to use that word. I seem to go with a certain word for a certain video. Epic is the word of the day. Right, let's move on to number 4. Now next in the lineup we have a bike that's been muchly talked about. It's not a word, but it really should be, because muchly is brilliant. That should be the word of the day, muchly. Anyway, I muchly want to see the new Yamaha R9, as muchly as I don't want to see it, because it's just another sports bike that's supposed to be a replacement for the Yamaha R6, which is no longer going to be made apparently. Especially considering they've got the R7 in the lineup now. But what is the new R9 going to be? Well, apparently the engine's going to come from the MT09, also the same engine that they use in the Tracer 9, in that it is a triple power plant with 119 horsepower and 69 pounds-foot of torque. So it should be a tad nippy. Now that is a similar horsepower figure to the current R6, but it does have 24 more pounds-foot. And on top of that, it's supposed to have about 25% more fuel efficiency and around 40 CO2s less than the R6. Great. The environment will love it. There'll be trees popping up all over the place for the lack of trees that the R6 destroyed. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. Now, the R9 is said to be a great bike that a lot of people are waiting for. Obviously the R1, I think, did I read correctly that the R1 is not going to be made much longer? I don't know. Maybe the R9 is going to be the new R1. I mean, why do they call it an R1? 1 for 1,000? Should be the R10. They've got the MT10, so why don't they have the R10? Maybe that's coming next. Maybe they're going to be doing an R10. Who knows? Anyway, let's move on to number 5. Now, this is a smaller capacity bike, but it's one that's quite close to my heart, and that is the apparent new CBX 400. Now, why is this close to my heart? Well, I have a 1978 Honda 404, despite it being a cafe scrambler. And yes, that's a thing, because I made it a thing. Anyway, I think the smaller capacity bikes are a big hit. They've got enough power to be fun. They're light, they're nimble. And what makes them the most interesting is that these 400s, hopefully, a lot of people are going to follow suit with this. They're going to move away from the parallel twin because they're a bit meh. Even though with a 270-degree crank, they do sound quite nice. But this one is going to have a 4-cylinder, apparently. A 4-cylinder inline 4 400cc. I think that would be epic. Now, we know Kawasaki did the same thing with their ZX4RR. That's a inline 4-cylinder 400cc bike. There's a lot of fours in that. However, it's really expensive and it's a sports bike. This is a retro style bike, a smaller version of the hopefully new CB1000F, but in a 400cc. And I love this colour scheme that they seem to be putting out there. I hope they go for this colour scheme because that looks retro, it looks epic, and I think this will be a massive seller, as long as, and they are talking about it being a very competitive price and not priced like the ZX4RR is. Ridiculously expensive over the standard ZXR 400. Now, there is no concrete information as yet, but I do eagerly await this bike, as I said, and I'm hoping that all these bikes will come to fruition. We need retro bikes. We love retro bikes. Well, I do, and I think a lot of people do. We do have an abundance of sports bikes, and I suppose you could technically say we do have an abundance of retro bikes, but not really, really cool, smaller capacity, retro-looking bikes. They tend to go a bit too modern with them. So that's where I suppose where they get the sports cafe from, because it's more sporty than cafe. We need a retro cafe. And that, I think, is a leaf we can take out of the Chinese book. They seem to be bringing out bikes that are very cafe-esque and bikes that people like. They just want to see them in the bigger brands rather than the smaller, less known and possibly less reliable brands. But we're not going to go down that route because that's a whole new can of worms that we're not going to open up today, because I'm a big advocate for Chinese bikes as long as they're done properly. And anyway, that's all I've got for this video. So thank you very much for joining me. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and leave any comments you've got in the comment section below. Let's hope 2025 and even 2024 has a great biking season ahead of it. And so I will see you very soon in another video. Thank you very much for joining me. And until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Cheerio.